I would now like to invite Karthik and Naveen to talk about the big game for the weekend, Tottenham versus Manchester City. Welcome Karthik, welcome Naveen. How you guys doing?
Yeah, hi,
Hey
hi.
Manan, good.
Not great.
I'm sure you are.
Yeah.
I'm sure. So let me start with Karthik first. Karthik, tactical masterclass from Jose. Has he got his mojo back? Is the Jose of old back? What are your thoughts on the game overall?
I mean, I couldn't be happier. Although, I think after scoring in the first 5 minutes, I was, the next 85 minutes were, I don't know, they were so torturous. I was just hoping that, we don't fall back and concede again. But I think, yeah, you could say Jose's got his mojo back. I mean, uh, people have started to say that, it's not just park the bus anymore, but park the bus and hit right at the counter, which is, I mean, uh, fair play for him to plan it. But I think
Right.
yesterday's execution was, I think spot on. It was everything was just brilliant. Yeah, I think I couldn't find one player who I could single out and say he was the man of the match. I think they were. I mean, it was an extraordinary team performance. Everything that Pep and City were throwing at them, it just absorbed immense amounts of pressure. And I think what has been a trouble over the last couple of seasons was absorbing pressure and sort of maintaining that lead and seeing out games. So I think that all in one, the performance against City was just testament of that.
Right. I think in terms of the execution, it was such managed such to such a perfection that you can't just you as a rival you just got to stop and admire it, isn't it? It was brilliant to see. Uh, Coming to Naveen, what has happened to Man City? This is the team that they are the Centurions. They are the back-to-back title winners. But City, despite dominating possession, they did not. They could have played another 180 minutes and not scored. What is it that is going wrong? And it's not that they've made investments as well over the season. Sure, it's mostly on the defense, but still, what is going wrong for Pep this season?
Correct. So honestly, very frustrating to watch the way Jose set up his team, but he got his 3 points, which is fine, and that's the way his teams usually play against attacking teams. So that's fine. But
Yeah.
as far as City is concerned, yes, we have invested a lot this season, but we've also got to keep in mind that we have lost some key players in the previous season as well as this season. So we are kind of in a
Right.
transition phase. And Premier League, in Premier
Right.
League, there are too many teams, who are uh, close to the way, I mean, the top teams perform. It's always a tough competition. So having a transition
Right.
phase in the Premier League is usually tough. So that's what we are currently in. And just to see that, as far as the table is concerned, it might seem a huge gap since we are 13th, but we have a game in hand and we are 8 points away from the top.
Right. Right.
But yeah, so we lost Silva this year, and also Fernandinho is kind of taken a back seat, and he has his injury problems also. Then
Hmm. Hmm.
Aguero is not playing very constantly, very frequently, and
Right.
we also lost Sane, and Torres is taking some time to get into the system. So initially, it seemed that
Hmm.
defense was the problem, but it's not. I mean, it's kind of sorted for now. And then
Right.
then we thought that there are no strikers around. So, but now we have Jesus, who is doing a pretty
Right.
decent job since last few games. But also, we have got to understand that in the midfield, we lost a creative midfielder, and Fernandino is not playing as a single pivot, and Rodri can't play as a single pivot. So there is some real creativity lacking in the midfield. So a lot of problems.
Right. Right, and it seems that Pep has not really learned his lesson, because like you correctly mentioned, you lost a couple of big personalities over the past season and this one. He failed to replace company last season, and he suffered badly. And he knew that Silva was gonna, walk away from the club. Yet there was no replacement signed. So, do you think he's lost the plot a little bit there? Because he saw what happened when company left, and similar thing happened with Silva. And now what is happening, as Obro correctly mentioned in his segment, that everything is falling on De Bruyne. So do you think that that one midfield signing could have sort of made the difference, which is something that is lacking at this
True,
point?
true. So maybe some time for the new midfielder to set in would have been great. Now probably De Bruyne or Foden are supposed to play those roles, but that's a
Right,
heavy responsibility on a 20-year-old, and a lot of responsibility for De Bruyne. I mean, multiple responsibilities. So yes, that
right,
was probably an error, and that is why we are still in this transition phase, and hopefully we'll come out better.
right. But when we talk about transition phase, you mentioned this a
Yeah,
couple of times. Pep Guardiola is not known for rebuilding a side. He's taken on. I wouldn't. I mean, it would be unfair to say that he's taken on finished squads, but he's never stayed at a club for so long where he's overseen a successful period and then moved to a rebuilt that squad and then again led them to a successful period. So do you think that is something that is new for him, and do you think, are you confident that he's the right man to oversee this transition?
yeah, that's a
How does
very
he stop this all?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a very good point actually. Huh. I guess he has never stayed more than 3 years at any club.
yeah,
So I mean, City management have taken a gamble, I could say, because of the name. I mean, because of Pep Guardiola, and also because probably there could be a lot of financial gains attached if Messi comes in because of Guardiola again. I don't know.
yeah,
These are all
right.
guesses right now, but yes, it's a gamble as far as continuing Pep for even I mean more 2 years is concerned. So let's see how it goes.
Right.
I mean, it could be really interesting, and it could also put Pep in a different league if he's able to rebuild this and win cups for us, which he has never done before. So
True.
that's an opportunity for him too.
Right. 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 Coming back to the game, and this is a question to both you and
Mm.
Karthik. Another VAR controversy. I can't remember. When was the last time I did not say that. Should Laporte's goal have been stood? Should it have stood? It did struck. Sorry, beg your pardon. It did struck Jesus
Yeah,
on the arm, but rules are rules, and as De Bruyne said, no one really knows what
yeah.
the rules are. Do you think that that was a valid goal that was incorrectly ruled out, or did the officials get it right this time?
So I mean, even Mike Dean showed it struck his upper arm, right? And if I'm not wrong, the
Yeah,
rules say that upper arm. I mean, it's not a handball as such, correct? And
right.
also, I mean, easily Matip's penalty would have been should have been given if that is the case, right? So there is a lot of inconsistency as far as VAR is concerned, and it's really frustrating. And especially when your team is not doing great, it pinches even more. So yeah,
Yeah. Karthik, what are your thoughts on the decision?
Yeah, I don't think VAR is something that we have to question in this. I think Mike Dean was given the option to go and verify from the
mm,
screen all for himself and then take the decision. I think he got it wrong. And uh, right after the match, I think when De Bruyne went ahead and protested, he was pointing it to
yeah,
his arm. And
Right.
when you go back and look at an infograph and check with the rules and see if that is actually a handball or not, it's actually not. The rules say it is not. But I really don't understand. I think that is where the whole inconsistencies have come into picture. We keep talking about it almost every
yeah.
episode, but I think it's down to the fact that the referees are not sure. They don't know what to do. And De Bruyne was spot on. I mean, it's not just him who doesn't know the rules anymore, right? So I think we were lucky with that, but it's hard. But I think to understand from a referee's point of view, the reason why he thought that was a penalty could be one, uh, you know, that he might have used the arm to sort of control the ball. Okay, if that arm didn't come into the question, okay, if that it's again it's a gray area. The ball, controlling the ball would have been difficult for Jesus. So that could be one point why Mike Dean might have thought it was a penalty. But yeah, it's
So
really
just a slight correction. It was not a penalty. Laporte did score. It's
Yeah,
just about the fact that whether it was
yeah.
incorrectly ruled out or not.
So
right.
even if it was used to control the ball, it was the upper arm, which is fine, right? I'm not sure. I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, as per the rules,
Yeah,
it's totally fine. There's absolutely no no need to rule it out.
So, Karthik, very interesting decision. Sorry, discussion. Do you think the outcome of the game would have been different had that goal counted? City equalize. They are on the up. Do you think Spurs would have weathered that storm and stuck to the game plan, or do Spurs go on the front foot and go all out at City's back line? What do you think the outcome would have been, just hypothetically speaking?
I think Spurs would have been rattled. I mean, if you look at the way the games were played, even this season and last season, I think Spurs would have been rattled. But I think, see, you can't blame City. I mean, they moved the ball really well, especially in the first half. I think they were fantastic. They're quite unlucky to sort of not get I know they had shots on target, but it just didn't go in. It's just one of those days.
Right.
But I think you know if had the goal stood and City equalized, I think the way Pep sort of would have Pep's approach in the second half would have been completely different. I'm sure he would have brought in Sterling or probably even Aguero, and that could have changed the course of the game. So hypothetically speaking, yeah, that equalizer could have changed the fortunes. But I guess what I'm really worried about is what happens with City right now. See, when Spurs lost to Everton on the opening day, you saw Daniel Levy go and go all in and sort of sign so many players, so many exciting players that people are starting to call us title challenges. But I think that's something that I'm afraid might happen with City. Sheikh Mansour might probably just decide that he's seen enough, and then sanction a huge amount, and they can actually go and get Messi. I'm really scared of that now more than the result.
That's while that's a valid point. I guess we still have time to see because there are so many fixtures yet to be played between then now and the transfer window.
true.
I guess Spurs might run away with the title for all we know. So you don't really have to worry about that at this point in time. But it's a very interesting point nonetheless. Moving on to the game itself, it's been incredible to see how Kane gets involved in the game now, right? It's not just City game; it's the previous games as well. He drops a lot deeper. He brings others into play and he scores a truckload of goals as well. Karthik, question to you: How has Kane's role under Jose changed? He's sort of evolved into a completely different player altogether. Do you think he's the best striker in the world right now? How has his game changed overall under Jose?
To be fair to him, I don't think we can call him a striker anymore, man. Be it the kind of position that he's playing in or the role that he's playing in, he's not. I don't see him as a striker anymore. He does so much more than what a conventional or traditional striker would do, right? You
Yeah,
see him, going back and you know putting in the tackles, be there for the defense when it needed. And he happens to be that. See, let's go back to the first episode. We said one area where Spurs, apart from the defense, where they can be hurt is the number 10 role. I mean, no one can replace Christian Eriksen, but I think that's happening right now. I really don't see a problem with that fact that we do not have a proper number 10 at the club. I think Kane is doing it, man. He's become a number 10 with Son sort of firing on from all cylinders. So we really don't need an out and out striker anymore under Jose. I think that's his game plan. That's what I probably think he meant when he said he'll help Kane explode.
yeah,
And yeah, it's really fun to watch. But yeah, I think that only works as long as you have someone who can finish off those balls. And thanks to that, thanks to Son, who's been clinical, I think Kane has sort of come into this limelight, into a new role. Mourinho said,
right.
what Kane is doing right now is not something any striker is doing at any other clubs at this moment. But yeah, I really, if you want to call him a striker, I mean, he still considers himself to be a striker. I'm sure he's hungry for the goals. He wants to get the golden boot. So yeah, but I think I like this new role better because it helps the team. It helps him improve his overall game, because I think how he has to evolve as a player now will depend on how he carries in this particular role, because he gets to see the ball more often. And when Harry Kane doesn't have the service, he doesn't have the goals, right? So when there's no one to provide him with the service, I mean, why don't you go and create on your own? I think it's a stopgap solution. It's not something that I believe is his best position. He's still a poacher, a true poacher. But yeah, I think given the current circumstances, he's doing one hell of a job and setting out new standards.
Absolutely. But a follow-up question on that, again, it's all a game of hypothetical, scenarios that we football fans create more often than not.
Hmm.
Do you think are Spurs as a team, as a club, over reliant this season on Son and Kane? They have been firing on all cylinders. They have been absolutely magnificent to watch for the neutrals, of course. But
Hmm.
um, do you think, let's say, if they were to get injured or if they were to get suspended, do you think Spurs would falter a little bit? That has happened in the past.
Yeah.
Kane getting his usual ankle injuries, and and all of a sudden Spurs go on a run that is unwanted. But do you think that is something that will still happen this season? Because obviously you mentioned Spurs among the breadth of title challenges these seasons. Do you think that they are over reliant on these two individuals, or how do you cope without them?
Over reliant, 100%. So you've seen Jose go back to Son and Kane even in Europa knockout games, right? When
Yeah,
things were not, going in our favor. So yes, I think if the magic needs to happen and we're not scoring goals, I think he didn't hesitate to call on Kane and Son. I mean, even in the away games, they've traveled with the team. So I thought these were the games where they can be rested, right? But that doesn't seem to be the case. And
right,
so that answers your over reliance question. We're absolutely over reliant on them. However, we've got enough cover, enough backup options this season. I think for both Kane and Son. But I really don't think they are truly tested. They need time to settle in.
right,
A couple of new signings. I mean, Vinicius is there, but I don't think they're getting the game time, right? Because I think what's clear in Jose's mind is he's got to win trophies, and so you can see that in Europa League games he doesn't want to take a chance. If things are not working out, he's calling them in. So these guys really didn't get the time to settle in, and that sort of worries me. If at all either of these have to, probably be out of the game due to injuries or suspensions. So it's not a scenario that I'm really comfortable to think about. But yeah, I really don't see us dominating games or scoring goals and getting a result if either of these are injured, at least for a short span of time, until these guys sort of gel and get the hang of the Premier League. So yeah, definitely I really don't want to think or jinx it, but yeah, I think they're going to be a big loss if at all either one has to be out of the game for a little bit of time.
right. And final question to you, Karthik. I'm sure you're gloating at this point. After so many near misses in the recent seasons, there have been taunts of Sposy bottling the title leads, all of that.
Mm.
Do you think Spurs are genuine contenders this time around?
See, I've been saying this. I'm gonna say this. It's too early. We really. Uh, I don't want to get ahead of myself. It's still early days, and City they haven't even started firing. I mean, and then you have Chelsea. I'm telling you, I don't know why you keep knocking yourself back, but Chelsea are probably the ones to look forward to. I think they're genuine title challengers. But yeah, I think so. Having seen this happen time and time again, I think what's going to be critical is not. I mean, November, December is a very crucial period with games
Yeah,
against Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea coming up. But I think the Jan Feb period is also going to be pretty critical. Thankfully, there's no international break till March. But yeah, I think this month is going to give us that confidence that yeah, we can go the distance, but it's too early. And I really expect the likes of Liverpool and City to bounce back. So we might
right.
dominate, but I think it's going to be way too close. And unless and until either of City, Liverpool, and Chelsea sort of screw it up big time, I don't see us winning the league.
Right. Yeah, I guess internally you would be saying yes, but just just to be on the face of it, you're saying no. That's fine. That's fair. Uh, Question to Naveen before we wrap this section up. Naveen, City, like Karthik correctly mentioned, City haven't even started firing on all cylinders. 10 goals in 8 games is a woeful return for a Pep Guardiola side. Do you think City have the enough firepower in the tank to, reclaim their title from Liverpool, or at least, be in the race, be in the contention? Or do you think they are at a risk of, conceding the title race even before we enter the new year?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, currently sure we are 13th, but we have a game in hand, and if we win that, we'll be just 5 points away from the top. But
Right.
the way it stands and the way City are playing, it does not really give a lot of confidence about us challenging for the title. But as it
Hmm.
stands, the season has been pretty funny as such and unpredictable. So we never know. So,
Indeed.
but yeah, next the remaining games. I mean, the games in December and January, they are going to be critical, and they'll probably decide who will really challenge for the title.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you so much, Karthik, Naveen. It was absolutely delightful talking to you both, and what a game this was.